Today on It's Always Something in Philadelphia, Saquon Barkley is an Eagle. Saquon is an Eagle. Saquon Barkley is a Philadelphia Eagle. Guys, we did it. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. The most talented, most explosive, best offensive player on the market besides Justin Jefferson if he requests a trade is now a Philadelphia Eagle. This lot to comprehend on this one. Let me set the scene for you for just a second here. So the NFL legal tampering window has opened, and so now you can start tampering and signing players. So there's been a bunch of signings across the league. Russell Wilson to the Steelers, Kirk Cousins to the Falcons. A lot of big moves happening. But today, the Eagles signed Saquon Barkley for a 3-year, $37.75 million contract with $26 million of it guaranteed. So a pretty big price tag for Saquon Barkley. Really not that big when the numbers are crunched down, but for what you would expect the Eagles to spend, relatively big. And this comes just earlier in the day, announced DeAndre Swift signing with the Bears. So they don't agree or can't come to terms with Swift. He ends up getting money from the Bears, which is a little bit less than this amount of money. I think it was 3 years, $32 million. I'll go and check that exactly. But DeAndre Swift signs with the Bears. And so there's been rumors for a couple days, a couple weeks now about Saquon and the Eagles gaining traction, about him being open to it, about the Eagles with interest, maybe Saquon willing to take a little bit less money. And it happens. And it's as perfect as you can imagine. He's a perfect fit in Philadelphia with this offense, and I'll break down the potential of this offense in a second. But I do want to take a second and apologize to Jason Dumas, reporter, sports personality on Twitter, Philly guy, tweets out a lot of things, a lot of reports or hunches regarding Philadelphia sports news, Eagles, Sixers, or otherwise. He's most of the time wrong, and I said that when he talked about last week or a couple days ago. He said, I have a feeling Saquon will be an Eagle by Wednesday. And I was like, I don't really believe it because I don't believe you. But he would turn out to be right even earlier by Monday. So my apologies. I wasn't familiar with your game. I don't know if I trust you more, but yes, I do. I did. Jason, you've earned my trust. This is a great scoop that you got wherever your sources were from, or maybe you were just reiterating what other stuff you saw on Twitter. I don't know. I don't care because you were right, and I will give that to you, and I'm happy you're right because Saquon Barkley is a tremendous talent, by far the most talented running back they've had since LaShawn McCoy, and it seems like we've been influencing or been increasing the talent level at running back every year. We start with Miles Sanders, very talented, very fast, maybe limited in what he can do in terms of the pass game. Then we upgraded DeAndre Swift, more, quick twitchiness, more ability in the pass game, even though we didn't use him that way, and was a bigger factor. And now we're going to Saquon Barkley, one of the top 2 running backs in this league. He has been for a while. If you're not familiar with Saquon's past, he was a Penn Stater. I'm a Penn Stater, hence the reason why I'm so excited. He had a phenomenal career at Penn State, was one of the most explosive and electric college football players of all time. He was known for just his big, explosive plays, creating things that, from the line of scrimmage and in the open field, from the pass, kick returns, whatever you wanted to see him do, he could do it. He could cut on a dime. He'd break ankles. He could hurdle someone. He could beat you in a foot race. He's everything you want and more. Before Jalen Hurts squatting 600 pounds was this big story, everyone was obsessed with Saquon and his legs, quads. He's a gym rat, huge legs, can probably squat more than Jalen Hurts. Just an insane athletic human being in college. Has done the same for the Giants. He's been phenomenal for the Giants. The knock on him has been his injuries. He's been banged up through his first couple of years in the league, and that is true, and that's something to be aware of. But the other thing that the knock on him is he's just been on a bad Giants team. So maybe his abilities have been overshadowed or underlooked because of how bad the team around him has been. But he's still been phenomenal. And really all the team success they've had has been because of Saquon. You look at his numbers with him and without him, they're staggering. He was the focal point of that offense, the catalyst of that offense. Whenever he was out for injury, the Giants were worse. when he was in. They always had maybe a puncher's chance because of the attention he drew in the middle. And he was on a team with a bad offensive line, bad wide receivers, and bad quarterbacks. And he still was incredibly productive and talented and explosive on that Giants team. And now he comes to an Eagles team with one of the best O-lines in football, two of the best receivers in football, great tight end, and a great quarterback who's a dual threat running quarterback in Jalen Hurts, which will just open up the offense in so many different ways. But I want to take a second and just give credit where credit's due to Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, and this Eagles front office, because they did it again. It's Howie season. You saw the players tweeting it out now, fans, other media members. It's Howie season. He always seems to find a way to make the splash move, or rather the right move, whether it's expensive or not. This one, he happened to decide to pay the big money, something that I did not think the Eagles were going to do. That's not the way Howie and Lurie have done it in recent history. They don't normally, or haven't normally, overpaid or paid large price tags for running backs. The market hasn't really either. They've been types to sign, draft a Miles Sanders, trade for DeAndre Swift, sign someone for a manageable, amount you can pay. But the thing with Howie and the thing with this front office that has really been impressive over the past decade plus is that when everyone seems to zig, they zag. The NFL running back market not really favoring the running backs, not paying them. They say, you know what, this guy, he is worth it, and we're going to zag, and we're going to pay the necessary amount for him. And even zagging when they're used to zigging, right? The Eagles, as a philosophy the past couple of years, they have been picking up relatively cheap running backs, and everyone thinks, oh, well, they're not going to go and pay for Saquon. That's just not in their DNA. Howie, always one step ahead, realizes that this is a guy that can change the course of a franchise for the next few years, and pulls the trigger, makes this signing. And I just give so much credit to Howie Roseman, because to me, this is a couple things. This, combined with the change of offensive coordinator with Kellen Moore, is a $37.75 million apology to the Eagles fan base. That's him saying, we were not good enough last year. We thought we were. We thought we had the talent, and we fell short. Change needs to happen. There was a collapse that was embarrassing for the Eagles organization, top to bottom. And this is him saying, we're not going to let that happen. We're going to bounce back. We have the rest of a core to be a Super Bowl winning team, Super Bowl contending team. And I'm going to do my job as the general manager to make sure we have the other pieces to make that happen. And so this was, to me, this $37 million apology to the fan base, and him saying, come back next year. What that also does, on that same vein, is something that the Phillies have done a lot in recent years, and is what makes him just a good GM, and why Eagles fans, are so supportive of him, is because it gets butts in seats. And I know the Eagles don't have any issues with people coming to their games, but when you're in an organization and you have a year like you did last year, it's so easy for a fan base to become apathetic, similar to maybe the Sixers before this season. And Howie and Lurie, they getting ahead of that before any fans even have a chance. And while we're as low as we could be as a fan base following the season, he finds a way to rope you back in to get the biggest offseason splash, the best signing, I think, available with Saquon Barkley. And that's such a great job of engaging your fan base, knowing that they're smart, knowing that they want to see good football be played, and surprising them by spending the money you didn't think they would spend. So props to Howie Roseman. He's making this team so much better. And that's what I want to focus on right now, is this offense. The potential now is through the roof. And I have to give, more credit where it's due this time, and this pains me to say, but to the San Francisco 49ers, because they showed that when you add a game changer, a top 2, top 3 running back in the league, like they did with Christian McCaffrey, that takes your offense from very good to elite. We've seen the way Christian McCaffrey thrived this year, tied for leading the league in touchdowns, doing it receiving as well. Always a threat, scoring a touchdown nearly every game. Like a McCaffrey anytime touchdown was pretty much a lock, right? I think there's really 2 guys, maybe 3 if you count Chubb when healthy, that are in that tier. It's McCaffrey and it's Saquon. They have the skill set, the build, the personality, the makeup of a running back that can transform a franchise when you plug them in a team that has all of the boxes checked. Great offensive line, great quarterback, great receivers, great tight end, and a good offensive philosophy, which hopefully we'll see this year with Kellen Moore. It puts this Eagles offense, I think, right up there with, if not ahead, and yet to be proven, with the San Francisco offense as the best offense in the NFC. I think that's not even a tough debate right now. There's a lot of questions about Saquon Barkley's health. He hasn't been the healthiest in years past. He's suffered through injuries. This is true. Same was said for McCaffrey. People were skeptical about the McCaffrey trade for the same reason. He was injured a lot in Carolina, goes to San Francisco, and relatively, he's been fine outside of a few bang-ups here and there. Can't predict the same for Saquon. You never know. You never can guess how someone's health is going to work out. But if history is telling me anything with the way that this worked out for McCaffrey in San Francisco, I think it's going to be the perfect signing. They're going to lean on him a lot. Obviously, he's very talented. But you pair that with the dual running threat of Jalen Hurts, with the downfield threats of Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, and Dallas Goedert being that short field and downfield threat, and the strong offensive line to create holes for him, to create gaps. I don't think Saquon, even going back to his days at Penn State, is going to see separation lanes and holes like he is going to with this Eagles offensive line. Granted, it's without Jason Kelce, which I've seen the meme floating around now that returning to the Eagles is like the Green Goblin mask for Jason Kelce right now. It's just calling him in like, come on, you want to do it. I don't think he will. He seemed pretty, committed to the retirement. But if I'm him, I'm sure he's pretty mad right now looking at his phone and saying, oh my God, Saquon, the year after I leave, get one of the best running backs in football. Either way, Jordan Mailata, Cam Jurgens, Landon Dickerson, who did re-sign for another deal for a huge max deal. Lane Johnson, of course, still one of the best offensive lines in football. Pair that with Saquon Barkley. He's going to wreak havoc. That first Saquon Barkley 40-plus yard explosive run, it's going to hit like crack. That's something that even with DeAndre Swift this year, who was phenomenal, we didn't see a lot of big, heavy yardage, explosive plays. And so that's something that I think that Saquon is going to sort of blow Eagles fans' minds away, give us the flashbacks of the Shady McCoy, the Brian Westbrook, really just taking over and disrupting a game with these huge plays, these huge touchdown runs. And with Kellen Moore, oh my God, the way he's going to use him in the offense, it's in the passing game, I think is something that it's going to add so much depth and creativity and explosiveness. And I'm at a loss for words at how excited I am just to see what this Eagles offense. I mean, damn it, it's only March. I'm ready for August. I'm ready for September. I want to see this Eagles team in action. It's such a great signing. Message to the Giants fans. I get you're mad. Giants fans, I get you're mad, but I don't know why you're mad at Saquon. I get he went to a division rival and he chose them and he signed with them and how dare you betray New York? Do you not remember what's happened the past 2 years where he's been trying to get a deal and instead they franchise tag him and pay Daniel Jones this huge contract? And then last year they negotiate and can't come to terms until a couple of weeks before the season and give him chump change for what he's worth. And he was clearly unhappy. He was debating, talking about on podcasts that maybe I have to sit out. I don't want to, but maybe I have to sit out just to see if I can get what I'm worth. If you want to be mad at anyone, Giants fans, be mad at your front office. This is something that they let go, that they screwed up, and I think is going to come and bite them in the ass the next 3 years, twice a season, especially when they play each other, but just when you guys are trying to catch up ground in this NFC East race with the Cowboys, with the Eagles, with maybe even the Commanders, if they start turning it around, and to trade away or let slip who should have been your franchise player, that's on your front office. Don't blame Saquon for going somewhere where he felt wanted and where he was going to be paid. And even this price tag, $26 million guaranteed, $37 million over 3 years, not outrageous, especially with the new cap increase, something the Giants probably could have paid. So if there's anyone to be mad at, it's your front office, not Saquon Barkley. But for the Eagles fans, good Lord, it's going to be scary. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think this is the lineup that, and every year in the offseason, it seems like, whether it's Derrick Henry or whoever, there's talk of, the Eagles with this guy, they're going to be scary. Well, they finally got him. They got him. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. I'm going to spend the next 6-7 months just fantasizing about Jalen Hurts handing off to Saquon Barkley and then tucking to run, or maybe throwing a little, outlet pass or screen pass to him, and just seeing him do work in the open field and just seeing what that red zone, this should solve so many red zone problems. Oh my God. It's a good day. This is probably the best day to be an Eagles fan since they beat the Bills in overtime this season. I mean, yeah, the Kellen Moore signing was good, but with, Kelsey retiring, and yeah, this is probably the best day as an Eagles fan in a long time. So this is thank you for the positive news. More positive news with this new signing period opening up, tampering period. The Eagles signed another New York football player, the Jets DN defensive end Bryce Huff, to a 3-year, $51.1 million deal. Bryce Huff, he had 10 sacks last year with the Jets, was one of their best edge rushers for them. And he's going to be a great fit here with the Eagles. That's something, this is more in line with the Howie and Eagles philosophy, is signing these defensive linemen, these rushers on the middle and on the outside to get to the quarterback. And this pairs nicely, or just logistically, with the retirement of Fletcher Cox. I don't think I've talked about that yet on this show. Fletcher Cox announces retirement. Longtime Eagle, one of the Eagles' greats. I mean, as much love as Jason Kelce got, Cox deserves the same and more, maybe. As big an impact player on the defensive side as we've seen for a long time, and he did it for a long time. I mean, he was pretty much good from the start of his rookie and second season until this past year. Yeah, he wasn't as dominant this year, but he could still play at a high level. He was still getting sacks. He was still disrupting the quarterback. So for him to be one of these Eagles, one of these greats, to retire same year as Jason Kelce, it stings. It sucks. I hope he enjoys retirement, whatever he wants to do, whether it's hunting somewhere in the South or going to the Phillies games and drinking with them in the clubhouse. Whatever he does with his retirement, I wish him the same health, luck, and success as I wish Jason Kelce. But huge retirement choice for him. But bringing in Bryce Huff will help with that loss, that absence of not having Fletcher Cox on that defensive line. On the same sphere, Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick, still on the trade block as of now, have not been traded. I don't know if they're going to trade both players. I was looking at I got Shefty's Twitter up right now just to see if they signed anyone else. Looks like the Eagles have signed a 1-year deal with linebacker Zach Braun, Saints free agent linebacker. Much needed help in the linebacker department. I don't know a ton about Zach Braun, but I'm going to say any linebacker help can be good. He's a 6'3", 225-pound former third-round pick from Wisconsin. So primarily a special teams player, but he had a couple of sacks, couple tackles for loss, of 4 quarterback hits last year. So you know what? I'll take it. Any linebacker help we can get. So that's a good signing. Back to the D-line. Sweat and Reddick on the trade market. I think if anyone's more likely to be traded, it's Josh Reddick. Here we go. He got this, Noah. Josh Sweat, I think, is the more likely trade target. He's younger, but there's less of a connection, and he had more of a disappointing season, so I could see there being more trade value for him. I think they want to re-sign Reddick, but give him the option to explore trades. If I were to bet, I'd say Sweat goes and they keep Reddick there on this line. He's a Philly guy, a Temple guy. I think it'd be nice to keep him with this team. But the D-line changing a little bit. We're seeing Cox retire, Huff coming in, Reddick or Sweat maybe not being here. But you can tell that Howie is set to improve this team. He's already done almost as much improving as you can offensively, retaining Landon Dickerson, getting Saquon Barkley. Maybe the only other thing would be signing a better slot receiver, third receiver option than Quez Watkins, but we'll see where they go there. But the offense has improved, and now the defense may be a net neutral right now, losing Cox, bringing in Huff, and Sweat and Reddick as a question mark. We'll see how those trades end up turning out, but you know he's going to try and improve that defense, sign this linebacker, and I think he's going to look in both the trade and draft for some safety and cornerback, just some DB help, whether that means bringing CJ Gardner-Johnson back or getting Snead from the Chiefs or drafting someone in the NFL draft. I know they're going to try and improve that secondary as well. But right now, the Eagles are looking good. This is a good Philadelphia Eagles day. Saquon Barkley is a Philadelphia Eagle. If you haven't said it to yourself out loud, try and say it again right now. Saquon Barkley is a Philadelphia Eagle. And boy, am I excited to see him in the midnight green, the whites, and the Kelly green. It's going to be great. I'll touch really quick on the Sixers after I drink some water. Lost a couple in a row. They were pretty bad. But last night they had a really horrible win. I don't really have much to say on the Sixers, but I watched their game last night against the Knicks. It was the lowest scoring game since like 2016. Just really, I mean, a good defensive game from both teams, sure, but just a really ugly offensive game. The Sixers, we know their injuries. No Embiid, no Maxey, no Melton, no Covington. The Knicks had a lot of injured players as well, but more of their main guys. They had Brunson, they had Hart. No Randall for them. So really ugly offensive game, but Sixers pull it out 79-73. Paul Reed was great. Hubie Brown loves Paul Reed. And this puts them, they had a couple losses that helped them out. So now they're back in the 6th spot. So currently out of the play-in, but so much could change. If you look at the 4th through 8th seed right now, they're all separated by 2 losses. So that's the Knicks, Magic, Sixers, Pacers, Heat. It is a crapshoot where the Sixers end up to end the season over the last course of the games for this season. They could jump around. They could get as high as the 4 seed, pretty easily. With the same amount of ease, they could drop to an 8 seed and be in the play-in, which would not be fun. But good for the Sixers for getting that win. They play the Knicks again on Tuesday. And good news, Tyrese Maxey is coming back from his concussion. So got that announcement today along with the Saquon Barkley news. So a good Philadelphia sports news day. A lot of positive news. We know in Philly it comes in waves. There'll be some terrible thing that happens next week. But for now, we can enjoy this moment and look forward to Maxey returning to the Sixers and Saquon Barkley in Eagles green. See you guys next time.